So, just got done last weekend building trusses for the pole barn, and I'm in the position now where I'm going to start hanging them. It's going to prove interesting since I'm doing it by myself. Apologize for the crunchy snow. I'll show you basically what I got to do. So, I bring the truss on pallet forks with my little tractor up to the front of the building. Then I have to set it down and get it around the back of this tree. I know you're wondering why I didn't cut that tree. Well, as much of a lean as it has, I figured it would probably barber chair. So I was like, you know what? If it ever falls, it's going to fall out into the yard. I'm just going to leave it. So, set it down, move it around this, then I put it back on the forks, raise it up to the top plate, this 2x10. Sun's coming out now, so the accumulated frost on the trees is falling. It's not actually snowing. Anyway, set it up there, use that shovel to get it up over the edges of the posts, and then it lays down on top of these 2x4s. From there, I just push them down into position, and I've got the first one sitting here. Once again, I had to use the shovel to get it up on top of the posts. I've got a 2x4 screwed to the outside in two positions on the 2x10. And once I get this standing up, I'm going to put another 2x4 right up through the middle here to hold it in place so it doesn't fall one way or the other while I get it centered and secure it. And just like that, the first rafter is in place. Now I just got to square it up and secure it. I did have to use the ladder here to get a little more leverage as I went up, but went right in place like I needed it to. Got pretty far today with the rafters. Kind of walk you through how I got them up there and steps to give you an idea of how I'm going about this since I'm doing it myself. So each rafter I'm bringing over here on my tractor on the forks, and then I am laying it down and getting it up and over the very front of the building. And to do that, I am using a flat spade to lift it up and over. Then it slides along on these two sets of 2x4s that I got running down the length until I get it into place. Each one of these has got basically a block to mount to, or a post. You can see here, this one will be a post. This one's a block. That one's a post. That one's a block. Next one's a block. And ideally, if I would have had more time when I was laying this out, the posts would have lined up better with the placement of the rafters. But I set the posts in a hurry, and when the snow melts, I'll take and undo the steel from the outside. I'll sink in lag screws from the outside in on the 2x10 at the top and the 2x4 down here lower. That'll give it just a little more support. The first rafter, I have two 2x4s screwed to the 2x10 on the outside so that when I stood it up it wouldn't fall over the side of the building. And I've got a 2x4 by 12 running up through the center here. It is not currently screwed to the 2x4 or to the rafter, but it's just again to hold it in place. I have secured the bottom of this first rafter to the posts, and then from there I started putting up my other rafters. Now, getting the first rafter after the end rafter was kind of tricky because I had to get it balanced up there, and then I had to tack these 2x4s on so that it would hold. I went ahead and used 20-foot long 2x4s because there'd be enough weight and sag that as I put the rest of them up, that would create pressure, which would then in turn hold it in place while I put a screw through it. Now, they are not yet mounted to their poles or their posts because I'm going to have to make sure that I have them centered correctly. In order to do that, I've marked center of the building here, and I'm going to do it down there. I'm going to run a string, and I've got center marked on each one of these rafters, so that all I got to do is line that string up with that mark, and then I'll be able to attach them to their posts, because then they'll all be centered. Once they're centered and mounted to the posts, then the next step is going to be actually undoing the 2x4s that are holding them currently, getting them level, straight up and down, and then reattaching the 2x4s at 2-foot intervals all the way up to the peak. At this point, I've got 2 more rafters to put in, but I flat out don't have the energy, and my body's shot for the day, and I still got to do chores. So tomorrow, I'm going to put this last one in here. Then, that one's going to be a little bit more tricky though, because I don't have the full length here like I did with the previous ones to lay it down. This 2x4 here is there strictly for the purpose of giving that rafter something to lean against as I stand it up so it doesn't go falling the other direction. I've moved it every time I put a rafter in, and it's worked out pretty good. Before I can put the final rafter on, I'm going to have to go up to each one of these posts. I'm going to have to take the Sawzall, and I have to cut them back a ½ inch to account for the wood plate that holds the boards together in the rafter. Now these rafters is 2x6 by 2x6 with 2x4 webbings. I've got construction adhesive under the ½ inch plywood sheeting, and then I've got screwed in from both sides. So it should be pretty dang sturdy overall. Once I get this last rafter in here before the end, I'll be able to take these skids down, and then I can take the shorter pieces of them and screw them upright so that I have something to hold that end rafter in place while I get everything square. As you can hear in the background, the birds are hungry, so I got to get going on chores. This right here is how we're transporting the rafters. I had a hay wagon sitting here that I set up a jig on when I was building them, but I didn't get a chance to film that before I had to return it. I might draw a diagram later to show how I did that, but carrying them stood up against the forks, and then at the bottom plate of all of these, since it's made up of 2 pieces, I've got a 2x4 temporarily screwed in place, because otherwise you're under risk of snapping your plate at the seam, and then once they're in place I can take that 2x4 off. These are all up on the roof now. And the next step is going to be taking this first rafter and getting it level. I've already screwed the bottom of it to the 2x10. You can see there's a 2x4 running across here. That was just there to make it a little more sturdy as I put it in place so it can come down. Once I have this leveled and secured, I can take down this 2x4 here and I can begin working on the one immediately behind it. All the batteries for the tools are dead. My batteries are about drained too. So I got everything so it's centered and attached on the ends. I started putting my stringers along there, 2 foot on center, but I'm out of battery. Only thing I got left to do is I got to get this end one square so that it's level straight up and down, and then I can tie it in with the rest of them. But I've got braces, so it's not going to go anywhere. And yeah, here we go. I have to delay and make the building video a part 2. Got a 2-day blizzard happening, so we'll see y'all later.